G'day, Bomber fans. Brownlow tomorrow night. Footy's night of nights, so we're going to talk about it. I'd be silly not to. I'm just going to preview our boys and their chances of winning, or I guess more likely picking up votes. And then at the end, I'm going to give my predictions overall, so stay tuned to that if you care. Keep in mind, the Brownlow is a silly award. It's a goofy goober. It's going to be one of the most prestigious but equally dumbest awards in footy. Having umpires vote on it is just a wild move that has given us some wacky votes over the years. Throwing it back to when Andrew Phillips got 3 last year against the Demons, or when Jason Horne-Francis picked up 3 from, I think it was a 12 disposal game and he got 3 votes, whatever it was. It's just a goofy award. I'm going to talk about it because I'm a goofy guy, I guess. So we're going to talk about Essendon, talk about the Brownlow as a whole, and then I'm going to leave you. Alrighty, the main man when it comes to genuine contenders for the Brownlow for Essendon at least is Nic Martin. He's likely going to end the night as Essendon's 3rd highest Brownlow vote getter ever, which is a great achievement. He'll be behind Dick Reynolds and Bill Hutchison. I think he only needs 10 or so votes for that. He averages 0.63 votes a game in his career, but he's likely going to exceed that to enter the 20 range. He's expected to poll as high as 25 and as low as the late teens, although it should be noted that Merrett's never been a favourite of the Brownlow. He usually underperforms compared to his other achievements and I guess predicted votes. His highest tally ever is just 20 back in 2021, and last year he managed 17 votes despite publications like ESPN predicting 22. So Sportsbet has him as the 5th favourite. I don't know if that's the case. His range is often hard to read, especially because Essendon had a major drop-off, and as we know, it can be hard for poor performing teams to receive votes, and you know what, guys? Breaking news, Essendon were a pretty poor team in the second half of the year. But if anyone from Essendon is going to get close to winning, it is Nic Martin. He had a handful of 10-vote games from the coaches. He had over, that's perfect games from the coaches, by the way. He had over 27 touches in all of Essendon's wins, bar 2, setting himself for a good little foundation. And even in losses, he won heaps of the pill. In fact, his 5 highest disposal tallies came when the club lost, so even though we didn't beat the Lions, for example, Merrett's 37 and a goal could nab him a cheeky vote. But finding Merrett's place in the order is tough because he's had a consistent year with star performances often shared. In fact, he is, according to the AFL official site, actually expected to poll in more games than Nick Dacos, but has 8 projected votes less. That is because his star performances weren't always genuine cemented maximum vote games. It does mean, though, there is every chance he can drop the order, but also exceed expectations. He's only tipped to poll 3 votes 4 times, which is surprising. But also, he's tipped to have 7 one-vote games. This is the AFL site saying this. That is, I believe, more than any other player in the league, and those one-vote games are the most intriguing. That can be the difference between a top 3 spot or sliding out of the top 10, whether those 1 votes turn into 2 or 0, because those 7 votes can span and be double that amount if the umpires felt like his impact was larger, or maybe it's the case of the umps choosing someone else for the minimum amount. Merrett is tipped to be polling in the early 20s, though, and receiving a top 10 spot, but it's really hard to know. I don't think he'll be challenging for the win, though. Onto the guy I think we see finish runner-up for the club, Nic Martin. Now, if there's one thing the umpires love, it's Collingwood, but aside from that, it's big ball winners, and there are genuinely not many players in the comp who win more footy than Nic Martin. He averages more touches per game than Nic Martin, Errol Goulden, Marcus Bontempelli, some pretty handy players there, don't know if you've heard of them. And now, plenty will say that he wins the easy footy, which is fair. You wouldn't want him winning a Brownlow, and he won't. But there is a genuine chance he gets close to Merrett, and it simply comes down to the fact he gets a lot of the pill. There isn't much seen overlap with the two in their best on-ground performances. In fact, the AFL and Betfair only think they poll votes in the same game once, so it means they won't take too many votes from each other in theory, although in some of Merrett's apparent vote-getting games, Martin is the player winning more of the footy. Last year, Martin had 5 games over 28 disposals, and in those games he earned 10 votes, 2 votes per game. So when he wins a lot of the ball, he gets some votes. This year, he had 11 games over 28 disposals, and I think it's fair to I guess, rate these performances further away from best on ground, because a lot of the time his impact wasn't really at Brownlow vote level. But it should be noted that in 2 of his 3 games where he managed over 35 disposal, he wasn't really given any love from any publication. Martin's expected tally ranges from 9 to 14. I think it gets higher around the 14 mark. That is unless the umpires have learnt their lesson from previous seasons. And finally, rather unexpectedly, the bronze medal, the next best chance of getting votes for Essendon is Sam Durham. That is according to experts, not me, although it is hard not to agree with them. Durham is the type of player who doesn't win a lot of the ball, but his attack and general manic vibe is something umpires like if you aren't a Tom Mitchell type mid. So if you're not Tom Mitchell, I guess be Sam Durham. It's clear to see when Durham's having an impact because of this. You know when he's playing well compared to guys like Martin, and that's why his expected tally range is so broad. what's the word? Whatever the opposite of broad is, that's what his expected tally range is. Most agree on when he'll get his votes and how many he will get. Stats Insider, Betfair, Herald Sun, ESPN, and Wheelo ratings all have him getting between 6 and 7 votes. So it's a very condensed range. That's the word we're going to use. The AFL thinks he's up to 9, which is possible, less likely, but really Durham's range should be pretty solidified just because when he played well, he really did play well, and you could tell when he was having a say on the game. I think he's the safest bet for third place with our team, but some guys not far behind would be Jai Caldwell, Jake Stringer, and maybe even Cole Langford. Real quick, some potential Andrew Phillips type scenarios. We love a one-game wonder or one-vote wonder. Jordan Ridley will get Brownlow votes for his Dreamtime performance. That was elite. He won the Yoken Award. Expect him to poll for that. Archie Perkins is another one who should get votes for his performance in round 1. He should get 3. Doesn't mean he will, but he should. Andy McGrath will likely receive a vote or 2 for his Anzac Day performance, but probably wasn't good enough to get any from other games. Darcy Parish didn't play much, but he did have a couple of monster games disposal-wise. Peter Wright kicked 5 against North. There's also Xavier Dersma, who's actually become a bit of a fan favourite on this channel, not just from me, but I've noticed you guys are getting around it as well, which is awesome. We all seem to love the guy. He could get a vote or 2. He's got a few publications are saying he could, so that could be fun, and that would actually be his first ever Brownlow vote, fun fact. And speaking on that a little bit more, a few guys that could receive their first ever votes. Matt Guelphy has never picked up a vote, but had some prominent games in the forward half. Ben Mackay is probably not the right position, but he maybe those hindset marking games get him his first vote. You also have the recently retired Jake Kelly, who, like Phillips last year, could randomly pick up a vote in his final season. The most likely player is Sam Durham. He will receive his first Brownlow votes. There's also Jaden Laverty and quite a few younger guys who have their fingers crossed tomorrow night. Alrighty, my overall prediction, my personal overall prediction, my top 5, I think it's going to be Paddy Cripps, to be honest. He's had such a strong year. He's a great ball winner, but I also think he has that grunt about him too. He wins the hard ball. You just notice him playing well without looking at stats. So I have Cripps first, Dacos second. I got Caleb Sarong third. I think he'll get quite a few votes. You got to watch out for those less relevant teams. No offense to Freo, but everyone will be talking about Cripps and Dacos during the week. Not as many talk about Sarong after a good performance. Isaac Heaney in 4th, and in 5th we have Lockie Neal. He rarely doesn't have a good year at the Brownlow. I think he'll be right up there again. But I think the award is likely taken home by Cripps. It should be a good count. We say this every year, but I do think this one could be close. It's also great because you've got guys like Cripps and Dacos and Neal and Bontempelli and Goulden and Butters. These guys are all expected to poll high, but also late. So all of them arguably had 1 or even 2 best on ground performances in the last rounds. I think that could create a fascinating scenario late in the count. It's also going to be cool to see what lead Heaney gets out to with his strong start to the year. That's what the count's going to look like. It'll be Heaney out to a big lead at the bye, and then guys like Cripps and Dacos slowly edging closer until the end when they eventually take over. I do only think there are a small handful that can win. Sportsbet has Merrett as the 5th favourite. I don't know about that. It kind of shows you that maybe this is a Brownlow between 3 or 4 different players. Merrett is $34 to win and down in 5th. Compare that to last year when the 5th highest rated odds by Sportsbet was Lockie Neal with 12. So I don't think it'll be close across the board, but it should be tight up the top, and maybe that gives us fans some surprises for the guys that enter the top 10. Alrighty, that is that little tired Brownlow preview. I'm pretty sleepy, as you can tell. Hopefully it's a good night for Essendon. Wouldn't mind seeing Merrett up near the top to prove the All-Australian selectors wrong. Maybe Nick Cox surprises and gets 30 votes. Stay tuned to the channel, guys. I do have quite a few videos coming out in the next few days. I'll have my AFL review tomorrow, which I know you guys absolutely love. After that, we have a couple of trade and draft updates. I'll also make sure to post a next day video for any major story that breaks as well. Cheers for watching, subscribe to stay tuned, like if you enjoyed, and as always, go Bombers.